Are we taping?
You are taping.
Okay, thank you, Jackson. Hello, everybody. This is Casey O'Boyle with Northeast Indiana Game Night. You are watching an episode of Around the Fort, the podcast, right, that covers Indiana high school football in Northeast Indiana. This is the regional round of high school football state playoffs. Magical time of year. We had great games last week. We're going to have great games tomorrow night. We got some special guests. But first, I want to introduce Jackson Geiger, show engineer across the way. He got a new haircut for his lady friend. He looks very handsome. Thank you, Jackson, for being here. To my left, diagonal, one Jake the Snake Smith. Jake, welcome back to the cave.
Man, it's great to be here. Super bummed out I missed last week. The legend Bart Curtis was on, and I was not a part of that.
He loved it, man. It was like Christmas for him.
Just what a legend. So shout out to him. A quick shout out to a good friend of mine, Tim and Michelle Hunt, their son Jesse. Would have called this out if I was here last week. The 1A Pleasant Ridge Rams football team in Leavenworth, Kansas, 0-9 last year. On the back of their defensive back wide receiver, Jesse, leads them to a pick six to beat Valley Falls a couple weeks ago. 3 wins on the season. Freshman class is looking great, and the Rams are looking hot for next season. So I wanted to give them a shout halfway across the country. Great job, Jesse.
Excellent.
Stoked to talk some football tonight.
Excellent. Congrats to Jesse and that crew. Sounds like they've had some rough times, and good to see him turn in the corner.
Yes, sir.
To your right, my left, one Jeff Stansky from Bishop Luers fame. Coach, welcome to the program.
Oh, it's great to be back. You didn't comment on my hair, though. Why is my
Well,
hair
we usually have a ball
know?
cap on, and we have the same barber.
Yes.
But your hair looks very nice, too. All right, without further ado, from Angola High School, we've got a special Coach's Corner guest tonight. On the heels of last week's thrilling victory over Garrett, the sectional champion Angola Hornets, Coach Andy Thomas joining the program. Coach, welcome to Around the Fort.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. I'm really glad we can be talking to you at this time of year.
Well, let's revisit last week's game. It was incredible. If you guys had 9 lives, you guys spent 6 or 7 of them last week in that come-from-behind win against Garrett. It didn't look good several times throughout the night, but somehow, some way, the Hornets were victorious. Take our viewers through last week's wild finish, Coach. And I have to ask you first and foremost, have you ever been a part of a game like that before?
No. A lot of people have said this, and I agree that the last 2 weeks with West Noble in round 2 and then Garrett in the championship were very similar to in 2017 when we played at Northwood and then at Culver Military and had back and forth games and won both of them in overtime. So it was a lot like that, but nothing close to what we had last week. We had a lead at halftime. We were playing fairly well and had the bright idea to kick the ball off to their best offensive player. We were trying to avoid that. And Garrett's kid, Guzman, took it down inside the 5, and then they scored, and it's kind of a struggle bus from there. They went up a score, and then they scored again, and we were just having a really hard time stopping them. So we're down 21-7, and then we just found a way. We had some big plays. We scored on a seam pass to Hawkins in the third quarter. And then they score again. Then they go up again. They're up 2 scores. So we had to got the ball back with 7 minutes, and we had to go 2-minute at the 7-minute mark. And we were able to get down and score. And then they're moving it like we hadn't stopped them. So they're moving the ball, and then we use all of our timeouts. So we're down inside of a minute, and we get a fumble, which we on our last time out, we talked to our kids about, hey, we're at the point we've got to try to strip the ball, and we got it. We got the ball out, and we were able to move the ball down quickly again. We got about a 30-yard pass down the sidelines with a running back, Hawk Hasselman, out of the backfield and scored. We went for 2. We hadn't really stopped them, so we thought we went to overtime and tried to play in overtime. We'd have a hard time stopping them. We ran a traffic type of play where we had a lot of crossers, and we tried to sneak Hawk out of the backfield, which had worked a couple different times in the season, and Garrett was all over it. So they sack us. So now we had an onside kick, and we ran a surprise onside, and they couldn't handle it.
Caught them off guard.
Caught them off guard maybe a little bit, yeah. And they were ready for the onside, but not the coming out of the huddle onside probably. And we threw a long pass down inside the 5, spiked it, ran a play to get to the middle of the field. We were trying to score, but at least we wanted to make sure we got the ball in the middle. We were down 1. We got in the middle, spiked it again, and then Hawk kicked a field goal. There were still 2 seconds left. We ran the same thing, same onside. We didn't want to risk kicking it anywhere, and then we had to defend a Hail Mary at the end of the game, and we pulled it out. It was an all-timer. Yeah.
It was amazing, Coach, and it was so much fun to watch, just from a pure fan standpoint. Watching that on the stream, it was just incredible. And Hawk Hasselman, what can you say about that kid? But I'm going to have Jake Smith ask you a question here real quick.
Yeah, so going into this week, not necessarily even talking about the player that you're going to go up against that everybody's talking about, but
you can say his name. It's okay.
Yeah. We all know Miles McLaughlin, he's setting all the records and he's doing the things. But what interests me about watching a lot of tape on him, and I'm interested to see your take on this, is the offensive formation that they run. They've got that double tight end. It looks like a couple H-backs to one side, maybe a fullback to the other, and he's kind of like a hybrid wildcat. And there's really no disguise to it. They're just running it down your throat, left or right or up the middle. Without giving away too many secrets, do you guys have a pretty good idea of what you're going to try to deploy to stop that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's double tight, foot to foot. I think what we really try to lock in on is identifying the pullers and seeing it and just trying to take everything on the right way. They're going to get yards. We're not going to shut them down. We just can't let 8 yards become 50. That's sure. What happens. You just get kind of worn out, and we just want to try to identify it and talk and communicate, and then take things on correctly and understand. Sometimes we'll do everything right, and he's still going to get his yards, but we just got to line up and keep playing.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuning in, we've got Angola coach Andy Thomas joining us on Around the Fort. Got a huge matchup tomorrow night against the Knox Redskins. I like the fact that they're still Redskins.
Yes.
Out there. Coach Stansky, do you got a question?
Yeah, Coach,
yes.
On one sectionals. Tell me a little bit about Hawk Hasselman. He, with a name like Hawk, you got to be a good football player, but correct me if I'm wrong. He carried the ball for 115 yards, threw a pass completion, 9 tackles.
For a touchdown.
Yeah.
3 receptions for 62 yards. And then he comes in with pressure and kicks the game-winning field goal.
Yeah. Well, he's one of the toughest kids that I've ever been around. He's one of the most competitive kids. I mean, like insanely competitive. He's a hard worker, works hard in the weight room. He's freakishly strong. And his strength numbers are great, and he's a great football player. I mean, he's competitive even in the classroom. Like he gets a question wrong, and he wants to know the answer. He doesn't like anything to not have the answers or to not go his way. So he just an extremely tough kid, a talented football player, can run it, catch it, tackles well. He's been our best football player for a couple of years now. Just really glad that he's on our team.
Yeah, he's an amazing player. Every week it seems like he has another highlight reel type performance or play. And we were talking upstairs, Coach, during our show prep that he has got to be a finalist for our Player of the Year award,
sure.
Which is, pretty amazing because we cover 37 different schools and he's in that conversation. And again, playing on a sectional champion team, he's had a great career, and hopefully he's got more football left in him beyond tomorrow night. Real quick, Coach, I want you to tell us a little bit about what it's been like to coach your son, Alex. He's a tight end. He did catch that touchdown, I believe, last week from Hawk Hasselman that cut the score in half from 28-14 to 28-21 in the fourth quarter, and kind of reignited some momentum for you guys. Talk a little bit about your coaching your son and having these memories with him as a father and son, because I believe he's your only male child, correct?
Yes. It's been the thrill of my life. Just so fortunate to go through all this with him, be able to spend every fall with him out at our practices for the last 4 years, and even before that, youth practices. I coached his team, and I coached a lot of our current seniors. I had them in our youth leagues as well. I just couldn't be more proud of him. He's a really good football player. He catches the ball well, run after the catch. He causes fumbles, a good tackler, and causes some train wrecks on defense, blocks kicks. So I just tickled pink that it's turned out this way. And as good a football player as he is, he's even a better teammate. He's a captain. Kids like him. He treats people the right way. But there's nothing. We won championships here and other places, but nothing tops being able to coach him for the last 4 years.
That's a great answer. I assume at home he, takes the trash out and cleans the dishes and does everything he's supposed to do, right? Right, Dad?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Well, that was a great answer. Do you guys have another question for Coach before we put an end to the segment?
Yeah, I would just like to know, Coach, is there anything different you guys have done in preparation this week, or anything different in the messaging you've done to fire the guys up for the week?
Well, I other than like not having the Skelly period and the passing period that we normally have,
Yes.
These guys run the ball 50 times a game and direct snap to him. No, just tried to be. We always try to practice physically and practice hard, but you're kind of like you're practicing in a phone booth against these guys. So that's been different. At this time of year, as you guys know, we're just trying to find ways to be more efficient with practice and get the kids getting in and out and keep them fresh while still practicing hard and playing hard. So just try to be be efficient with our practices. And, as far as messaging, if we can't get excited for this game, the biggest games of our lives in a regional championship, there's something wrong. And our kids have been great. Our pregame, our build up to last week's game was the best that I've ever seen. And I know everybody says that. It's the absolute truth. Our kids were just jacked out of their minds, ready to play. And I think, I know that we're going to have the same thing again tomorrow night.
Love it. Well, Coach, I'm going to ask you one last question. Looking at common opponents, I believe Tippy Valley, correct me if I'm wrong, was the only one, and I believe both you and Knox defeated the Vikings by 15 points. Was there anything that you could glean from that film, even though it's going back earlier to the season when Knox played Tippecanoe Valley?
A little bit, and we were able to look at that a little bit. Just the way they had success and rallied to the ball. Now Tippy Valley is a lot bigger. They were really massive up front, so they were able to do some things a little bit different. But just as far as establishing a pattern of success, like, hey, we could do these things to be successful. Sure, we're able to look at that, and that helped us a little bit.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the podcast. We wish you and the Hornets nothing but success tomorrow night. We're pulling for you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you so much.
Good luck, Coach.
Yeah, good luck, Coach. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Coach Andy Thomas from Angola High School. Thank you again, Coach. You guys ready to jump into the games?
Oh, we'll jump.
Sure.
Let's jump right in. Let's
Casey.
dive in if we can. Are we taping, Jackson?
Don't you worry.
You're pressing a lot of buttons over there. You're making me nervous. You got a new haircut, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm telling you, he looks like a new
aerodynamic.
Man. And his girlfriend, I don't know if she's seen him since this new do.
She is not.
Okay, well, she's going to just be so happy. You just look fabulous, Jackson. All right, let's dive in, shall we? Let's start with the big boys, Class 6A, and work our way down.
Mm-hmm.
Carroll Chargers at Penn High School, the Kingsmen, undefeated Kingsmen. I think this is a really intriguing matchup. I think most people are going to look at the records and just assume that Penn is, give us 5 minutes here, if you would, Jackson, are going to just assume that the Kingsmen are favored being at home. There could be some home cooking. It happens in the playoffs. But that being said, I like this Carroll team. I like what they've been doing. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, last week, you would never thought of Carroll being a running team, but, that's what
something
good OCs do. They knew Northrop has good DBs. They got a good pass defense. Hey, they got a light box. Let's run the ball and run for 340 yards.
Three guys right around 100 yards or more.
Yep.
Impressive.
Take what the defense gives you. And they certainly took advantage of that. Now, saying that, Penn is Penn. Watching the film, they're not going to do that against Penn. I think they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit more. Penn, over the last 8 years or so hasn't been quite the same. But back in the day, I remember when I was at Snyder, every year, semi-state, regional, we'd be playing Penn.
One of the top big school powers in the northern half of the state.
And they look good everywhere. And I will say, except Snapper. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they look overall, they got a great defense, great offense. I think Carroll must stop the run and not have to bring those safeties down in the box. If they have to bring them in the box, they're going to be in trouble in the pass game. So
because they've got big playability with that pass game, don't they? Penn does.
Yes, big home run hitters. Newhouse, middle linebacker, is going to have a great game for
Newhouser. Yes, Newhouser. Eli. Yes.
Number 3, the running back at Penn, is very fast, but he's not real big guy. So he's not a guy going to pound it down, but he can
hit a hole. Yep.
And junior quarterback Landon Hall, he's a D1 quarterback, and I don't say that very often. But he is what I call an on-time thrower. They run this out route, 10-yard out, which is the hardest throw for a quarterback.
Yep.
And he throws that ball before the wide receivers have turned. And he must have worked with these guys, number 1 and 5.
He puts it right on their hands.
Right on. And it's almost impossible to defend. And he, Brubaker's going to have to, and some of their guys are going to have to rush the quarterback without having to bring the blitz. And whether it be 3 and they drop into coverage or 4, I don't think they can bring many more than that because they're going to have to play some coverage. But some of the stats for this kid, he's got 2,065 yards, which, that's good, but 75% completions, 17 touchdowns, 1 interception. He averages 21 yards per throw.
Per attempt.
That's
insane.
Not even per catch or per completion. That's per attempt. When he's been at quarterback, they've scored 33 touchdowns out of 37 possessions.
That's impressive.
So, with that, they also have a guy at safety. His name's Vinny Freeman. Maybe you know the last name.
Marcus's son, who's going to wrestle at Cornell.
Oh, really?
I think he's going to Cornell to wrestle.
Okay. I was wondering about that.
Yep.
But yeah, so Notre Dame fans, you can look number 7's Marcus Freeman's son there. But if Carroll can protect Freisinger, and they can get even Shealy the ball some, along with Van Pelt. I mean, they got to use, the receivers and slow down the rush a little bit with some runs here and there. Use Freisinger as a runner. They played in tough games. I mean, that's kind of why we went to that new schedule. They played Center Grove.
Right. Those early, behemoths.
Hamilton Southeast.
Yes. They kind of set the tone for a night like this.
Yes.
Well, Coach, I want to just bring up real quick and jump in, Jake, if you feel the need here. Gabe Freisinger last week, only 7 of 12 passing for 132 yards. I say only 2 touchdowns, 130 yards, but he also had 104 yards rushing, 3 TDs. I think his legs could be really key in this matchup. And Jaden Van Pelt, I know you're a huge fan.
Big fan.
He didn't really factor in last week. I don't know if he sat out the whole game. I know he's been dinged up. My sources tell me he's going to play in this game. I don't know if he's 100%. But I think they need him on both sides of the ball, but especially offensively, to loosen up that defense and give Freisinger that home run threat. What are your thoughts on that, Jake?
Yeah, and I think the Carroll tackles offensively have to be sharp. On the Penn side, Christian Bonner is a defensive end that's an absolute monster. He's not the biggest dude. He's 6'1", but he's powerful and he's fast. He's got a heck of a bull rush. He's got a couple moves in his toolbox. So they'll, use that to your leverage, to your advantage. In pass protection, obviously the tackles are going to have to do a good job there. And also Coach Poppy's starting to establish that run game. Maybe they can run where he leaves, but it should be a good matchup, I think.
Coach, I'll let you wrap this one up.
Yeah, I got 2 things to look for here. Don't look away when Penn is punting. They had 2 punts over the guy's head last week. Got lucky, he got the ball and got it off again.
That might make a special teams coordinator go for it too.
Yes.
Right? Have a fake.
They had to have a fake on there, yes. Yep. And Russia, put some pressure on. And then they were going for the tying field goal with 3 minutes left. They were down 3, Penn. And it was a bad snap off to the right. They didn't even get the kickoff. So that was some issues snapping. And then watch.
That sounds like Notre Dame.
Yeah, right?
Special teams. Sorry, Marcus.
Game. And then the other thing is watch Coach Dinan for a trick play. He loves these trick plays. It may be a double reverse, it may be a flea flicker, it may be a hook and ladder, but
Something
these
that they put
games,
in and they've been
saving
saving.
it.
It's in their
Yes.
back pocket.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
this
kept
could be the
that.
right time.
Yep.
Good call out there, Coach. Well, thank you. Let's jump in. We're going to skip the Bishop Dwenger at Lebanon game because we've got Jeff Mahoney from Summit City Sports joining us here in a little bit. We'll pick Jeff's brain on that when we get to that segment. But let's go ahead and jump right into Angola, since we just spoke with Coach Thomas in Class 3A at Knox. I don't even know where the hell Knox is. I was hoping he'd be a little bit more open with some of their strategies because I'm not sure they even have internet out in where Knox is. But the Redskins are 12-0. Coach Russ Radke, I believe, is the coach. I mean, legendary coach. This is a formidable opponent. Make no mistake. Who's got this one? You do, Jake.
Yep.
Right? Why don't I just let you take the ball metaphorically? And how does Angola stop this kid?
Well, I've watched about every piece of Knox film and every game I could find, and I mean, I don't want to be depressive here. I don't know. The thing about it is the offense, and we'd spoken to this a little bit earlier. You know, for viewers that don't watch a whole lot of football, when they line up, you know, every offensive scheme has a center that snaps the football, the guards to the side of them, and then the tackles, and then outside of the tackles on the offensive line, they've got two tight ends, so we say double tight. And this is a weird one because Miles McLaughlin, they say he's a running back, but he's technically a hybrid quarterback running back because they're basically in Wildcat, which is a direct snap to that player. So he's getting the ball and then running.
That's just bizarre to me.
So with that, they have two, what I call H-backs. They're basically detached tight ends off the line of scrimmage to one side and then like a fullback or like an extra guy to the backside. So when Coach had alluded to phone booth football for you viewers at home, you know, they do nothing but run the ball 98% of the time right down your throat.
With the same
kid
yeah.
who gets anywhere from 20 to 80 carries a game. It's whatever he needs. And what a kudos to the player that has been a 4-year starter that has been so durable and set himself up. He averages over 360 yards a game. I think he's at 67 touchdowns on the year so far this year.
And what does he need to be the national?
He is now the Indiana leader in touchdowns and rushing yards. He is number 4 right now nationally for career rushing yards. He's, I believe, the single season national record holder now in that. And I think he's 2 touchdowns away for career nationally. So he's broken some of Derrick Henry's, which I'm sure some of you people have heard of him before, of his records. But the big one is right now he's in the ballpark of about 762 yards away, sitting at number 4. He will, if he has an average game against Angola with 300 and some yards, he'll move up to number 2 this week. Going into semi-state, if they win, he would have an opportunity to, in the semi-state game, break that all-time record. If they would go on to the state finals, it'd be pretty much a healthy Miles McLaughlin that he breaks that record. It's incredible that someone in 3A football in Indiana, you know, for any of the haters out there that are saying, well, you know, he's not playing at a 5A Georgia school or a 6A Florida school. Derrick Henry talked about this on ESPN just the other day, and Rob Gronkowski talked about it this morning. It doesn't matter what school that you play for, to be able to run the football this effectively for 4 years with these numbers, there's a reason that not many people do it. And so to get off Miles for a second, if I'm Angola, how am I going to stop that kid who's an absolute freight train, who also just got offered by Ball State before we started the show, by the way, so congrats to him. You're going to have to do something different so that these guys, Coach Radke teaches these guys, and he's spoken about it in some interviews about how they block. Some of these flex bone and academy style teams block low. So instead of blocking inside the shoulder pads like most of us coach our kids, they're blocking at hip or thigh.
That's what Coach Curtis talked about last week up where we're at. It's
low man win. So you're going to have to do something creative. And I'm sure Coach has looked at all the angles here defensively. How can you get lower than their low offensive line? And then how can you shoot some gaps? And they're going to have to take some risks, because the one thing about Miles is, we still want, do we lose audio? We're still good. Okay. The one thing about Miles is they're going to have to take some risk and just shoot some gaps. So it's like, hey, this kid can run over guys. He can evade guys. So defensively, I'm going to have to take a safety and just be like, okay, by tendencies from what we've seen on film, when they show this, you know, twin H-back left, they're running
down
this
in
way.
Distance or
we're going.
Certain
I'm
hash.
set. You know who you're going after. You're going after Miles. Shoot the gap. And you know what? If you whiff, and he houses it, it was probably going to happen anyway. You've got to create ways with him to stop him. And Coach alluded to it well. Let's not turn an 8-yard gain or a 6-yard gain into a 30-yard gain on something. They're going to have to play sound football. And I'll tell you, the one kid that I think would be the one to stop him is Hawk Hasselman.
Yes.
He's tough. He's durable. He's got a nose for the football.
Yep.
And that's exactly right, Casey. He's instinctive. And it's going to take that type of player defensively. And I think that's going to be the key to this game is Angola's defense. What can they do? And you made a good point earlier, Casey. And the common opponent, there's a 15-point differential when they played Tippy Valley. I think this game could be closer than what we think. But it all comes down to Angola has to stop Miles McLaughlin. And can Miles get hot and get heavy and get 6-8 touchdowns?
If not stop him, contain him. It's
you
the
slow
old
him down?
cliche.
Yep.
Get them. They have to have a few series where they get off schedule, behind schedule,
Yes.
and they just can't just run it down their throat. And then conversely, let's face it, Angola is going to have to score some points and move the ball. Their best defense will be a good offense. And last week they really relied on their passing game. They're going to have to hit a couple big pass plays, I think, to hang around in this one.
And to kind of close on that too, if I'm Angola, just like Coach said, that's why I asked that question. What's the messaging? What's the vibes in the locker room like? Obviously, this is playoff football, so you're juiced. But to be able to peak when your kids are that excited and that dialed in like they are right now, Angola is going to play a lights-out football game, and that's when you need them to play that game is right now. This is a powerhouse that they're going up against.
Awesome. Coach, you have any thoughts on this? I mean, from a coordinator's standpoint, a former offensive coordinator, if you had defensive coaches coming to you preparing for this game and they said, Coach, what are your thoughts? How do we attack this? What would you say?
I'd say good luck. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I've all these teams that I'm sure load the box with 11 guys. They know it's going to be a run.
They're all trying something.
They're all trying. Now, maybe they haven't played the big schools, but to be able to do that and have the national record, or they have he's leading the nation and this year, and he has a chance to be all-time national record breaking Derrick Henry. I mean, that's just
it's
really amazing.
Legendary stuff.
Yes. And to only have a few college D1 offers as well. I think I used to become a powerhouse, but besides that, he doesn't have
no, it was
a lot
Ball
of
State's
big-time-
is the only one.
Yeah.
These guys said it was the first
Is it really
offer.
the first offer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Remarkable.
And there some other schools looking at him, but nobody big. Nobody
right. But
like
maybe that'll change here in the coming weeks. We'll see.
Yeah.
But Angola gets a crack at him this week.
Yeah.
And it being homers, we're going to be definitely pulling for the Hornets.
One more thing, he also leads them in interceptions with 7.
Miles McLaughlin. All right. From
yeah,
Jackson.
he's a two-way player.
He's got 7 interceptions on defense too.
He must.
Very nice. Well, thank you, Jackson. Gosh, his kid's hair. I think he got smarter
He did.
with that haircut. Thank you, Jackson. All right, let's get out of that game. Stay in Class 3A. Coach Stansky, I'm going to come to you. Give us another 5 minutes, if you would, Jackson, on the clock. Bishop Lures heading down to Twin Lakes, correct?
That's right.
I think on paper, this sure feels like Lures should win this game going away, but you also know at this stage of the game, you can never count your chickens before they're hatched. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, it's always, they got an hour and I think 45-minute trip. It's just north of Lafayette, about 20 minutes north. I think some of the momentum they can take from last week. Just a quick recap, Lures had gotten up big first half, 14-3, and then Mississippi crawled their way back, and they had 2 big backs. One of them's name's Monday. They're driving to tie the game up, run, hit off tackle, bounce it out, and he looks like Monday's easy score. And out of nowhere, Rory Kelly comes screaming in and hits him, and he's probably 30 pounds lighter, 3 inches shorter, and knocks him out at the half-yard line. A lot of times you're like, so what?
They're going to score next play.
Right?
Yeah.
They hurry up, try to sneak it. Everybody's looking at the pile. Did he get in? They look at the referees. Well, the ball came squirting out.
In the same kid.
Same kid. Rory Kelly picks it up.
I didn't know it was the same kid. That's
99
awesome.
yards. So it shows you those little plays in the playoffs.
Game of inches.
And,
and what? And I'll let you talk about tomorrow night's game, but what awareness for Rory Kelly. He's just a sophomore, I believe. Very fast. Good athlete. To have the wherewithal to not only pick it up, but then to advance it and not just stop, because everybody stopped. It looked like it was a dead play, and he kept going. And I think he saw the corner of his eye one of the officials running with him, and that was his clue. I'm housing this. that's an iconic play right now in Lures history.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you have a goal line stand like that. I mean, 14-point turnaround. If they score there, they had the momentum.
They probably find a way to
I
win
think
that.
they win that game
at home.
and that might be the play that pushes Lures. Who knows? State championship. That one little play.
Yep.
There are actually 2 plays.
Yep, and conversely, Ole Miss maybe goes to state in their place if they get that play in their favor. Let's talk about tomorrow night. What are the keys for the Knights?
So the Knights on defense, they got to stop their quarterback. He's really good. His name's Cooper Dold. He's got 2,500 yards passing, 65% completions, 29 TDs, 10 interceptions. They've got a really good offensive scheme. They like to run a lot of mesh, where that means the 2 guys are coming across on shallow drags, hitting those guys, and watch for Lures has this play too, but it's if you remember Alex Pierce this week's touchdown. If you watch the Colts,
yeah,
it's the same concept where you have a skinny post on the outside, you have a deep over on the inside, and against that cover 4 defense, if the safety over the number 2 guy comes down at all, you're 1-on-1 on the post. And they run that quite often.
Twin Lakes does.
Yes, and that could be a big play. You could see Lures run it as well against them, but they need to make sure they've got in the secondary a way to cover that, because he's got a good arm. He can also run the ball.
Is that Carswell's job at free safety to see that?
Yes. So he's got to see that. And then they got to decide, is he going to come with the over route and come down and we're going to play 1-on-1 with the cornerback on a post, which is very hard, or are they going to keep him back too? And then you're going to have to play that over route with somebody else.
Okay.
So
and we do know Mikael Woodson is back at full strength. He played last week. Yep.
Yes, but he, I think, I don't think it's important last week. This week he'll be really important to the game. And whether he plays corner and safety, I don't know which one.
Or maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Okay.
But they got to be now. They're not very big. They don't have the size, or I don't think the speed. I think Lures can run the ball on them. Their linebackers, I think, are a little under more size. An interesting defense. They play a 3-4, and a lot of times when there's a tight end, which Lures always plays with tight end for the most part, you'll load the outside linebacker, which means he'll come up on the line. They don't do that. They keep him back.
Interesting.
I could see Coach Palmer, a line coach, really salivating there, where you could kind of run a TED or text block where you block down with the tight end and pull the tackle around. And that could be
almost like a little counter action.
Yes. And I could see them. If I'm Lures, I'm running the ball until they stop it. Maybe a little bit of play action pass, quick passes to the outside. But I think Lures can easily run for over 200 yards this week.
Well, the Swami mentioned that too. I agree with you. Those sophomore running backs, TJ Epperson and Brandon Gaither, are really a phenomenal 1-2 punch. And I could see those two having big nights tomorrow night. A couple thoughts real quick from you, Jake, on this one?
Yeah, one big note that I had was, by the stats, Twin Lakes creates a lot of quarterback pressures, but they don't seem to get home near as often. So they're not getting home on those sacks. So I think that's something that can play into Lures' favor. And just like Coach alluded to, man, being able to run any type of counter action against that and just identifying that in their run game, I think is going to be huge for Lures.
Well, defensively for Lures, we've talked a lot about the Taylor brothers, Jaron and Ale, phenomenal senior duo. I mean, those kids really wreak havoc. I want to mention, we mentioned Darion Carswell at safety. There's 4 other seniors right in the middle of that defense. Braden Migrant, Danny Arnold, Christian Brell. All 3 of those kids are seniors. Not real big kids. They're not, D1 football players, but they're really, really good Bishop Lures football players. And Jackson Hill at strong safety, same thing. I think all those kids deserve some credit on that side of the ball. Thoughts on that, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, Migrant's played now 2 years, outstanding inside linebacker. I got to give a shout out to the 2 baseball players that I got out there, Christian Brell and Jackson Hill. They're just athletes, they're really good athletes that have played, especially Christian Brell had never played football, really, at least didn't play high school until he was a junior.
Right.
So
just tough kids, and their nose is always around the ball. Yes. And I think some of those other guys on the front end and the back end get a lot of the credit, but you got to definitely tip your hat to those guys in the middle for sure. All right. Well, thank you for that, Coach. Give us 5 minutes, if you would, Jackson, on this next one. I think this next matchup in Class 2A is as intriguing as we have here locally. Both undefeated teams, the Eastbrook Panthers at Adams Central, the defending state champion Flying Jets, Coach Michael Mosier's team. He said they're healthy. You know, they brought back a linebacker last week who I think was second on the team in tackles, the Bloom kid. So they went from being really good to maybe a hair better, which is scary for AC opponents. But Eastbrook's pretty darn good. I think this is by no means a gimme. Eastbrook's probably a little bit like Eastside to a certain degree, but I don't think they can throw the ball like the Blazers could. And last week, AC just raced out to an early lead. I think it was 25-zip against, Adams Central raced out to a big lead against Eastside. Gave up a lot of points, but it was late. Jake, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the Panthers definitely an intriguing team, but it's interesting to kind of how they got here. They squeaked by Alexandria Monroe, and that was probably the most controversial game of the year and how that ended. And they also eked past Eastern. Now, Eastern is a pretty tough team in their own right, too. But to me, Eastbrook starts and ends with Ryder Gibson. He's a two-way stud for them, really attributes to most of the touchdowns for Eastbrook and leads the team in tackles per game and interceptions. But, man, I just think Adams Central right now with Jamison Roach, and they're getting players back like they're just a well-oiled machine. I think you made a good point there talking about them and, similar to Eastside. Yeah, they may not run the similar like QB counter read stuff, but I would say like in comparison to like the toughness of the opponent, I think there's a lot of similarities there. I just don't see them finding a way to get past AC in this one. I think that they're going to stick to their process. They're playing great three-phase football across the board right now. I just don't see Eastbrook getting it done.
Well, last week, Eastside ended up outgaining Adams Central 397 to 312, which is shocking. I think a lot of that came in the second half.
For sure.
But they did rush for 250 yards. So Eastbrook, that's what they want to do. That's where they make their money, is pounding the ball. Coach Mosier compared Eastbrook to themselves and Garrett. He said they're a lot like us and Garrett, where they just want to take the air out of the ball and run it down your throat. And if they're able to run with some success, they're going to hang around in this game. Make no mistake. But AC just seems like every time we doubt them a little bit or think that there's a crack, like Bluffton a few weeks back or whatever, they rise up and put together an amazing performance. Last week, I just want to throw these rushing stats out. Jamison Roach, 66 yards, 1 TD, led the team. Thomas Laughlin, 65 yards, 2 TDs. Vance Miller, 55 yards, 1 TD. Joey Everett, 52 yards, 1 TD. I mean, no Miles McLaughlin stats on this, right?
Team.
I mean, it's spread out. I mean, when your
yep.
leading rusher's getting 66 yards and you rush for 238, tells you all you need to know. Joey Everett had a really amazing catch, though, at wingback for a touchdown. And you put him with Braylon Reber, the big, tall athlete out wide. They've got some options there throwing the ball, and I love what Jamison Roach has done. I know you're really high on him, Jake. I think if they have to throw the ball, they always seem to do it at just the right time. Coach Michael Mosier is so good at calling those pass plays when they need it, and they always seem to execute. Coach, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, AC is just a machine every year,
They really
just
are.
Continue, and like you said, you doubt them. You think, oh, is this Bluffton's year, somebody else's year? But every year they come out and just continue to perform. Eastbrook, I don't know. They're the only team that I know that maybe had more of a crazy finish than Angola.
Yes.
Round one. If you saw that made national news.
That was crazy.
So yeah, you never know in football. You don't know what's gonna happen. But
and you have a finish like that where they, by all practical purposes, seemed like their season was over.
Yes.
Right, and they had a miracle finish. That was the one with the crazy call.
Yeah, Alexandria Monroe.
Yeah, so sometimes you get a win like that,
mm-hmm.
you feel like maybe you're a team of destiny, like there's something else going on, and they're 12-0. So they're going to go down to Monroe, and they're going to want to be a giant killer. I mean, they know that they can match up with this Adams Central team, and Adams Central, as much as they are like robots, and we talk about them all the time, they just go out and produce and get things done. They're still 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, and they can have a bad quarter or two or overlook an opponent for a little bit. And at this level, against that kind of team, it's no gimme.
And I know when we played at Eastbrook at Lures when we were in 2A at times, they're not going to be intimidated. I will tell you that.
It's a proud
will be-
program.
They will. They'll be ready to play.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that, guys. This last one, we've got South Adams, the Starfires, 9-3 at North Miami, 9-3. Another great matchup. Had some communication today with Coach Grant Mosier, and I know they're really excited down there in Bern, but he knows this is going to be a dogfight. I think this is a really tough matchup. North Miami wants to pound the ball. We know what they did last week against Fremont, who was kind of our Cinderella team locally. They really, really put the wood to the Eagles. I think this is a tough matchup. If this was in Bern on artificial surface, I think the Starfires win by 14, 17, maybe 21 points. But down in North Miami, where they play on grass, I heard that the faucets and the sprinklers were on as we speak.
Yeah.
Still tonight. You
Still
know
a
it's
Paul
going to be
Saint-Trick at Musco with
you
that
know
one.
it's going to be a quagmire somehow, and they're going to blame it on the snow melting, right? Jake, I'll let you kick this one off. Thoughts on this matchup?
It's interesting to me because knowing the Triton program a little bit that I do, they had that big upset late in the regular season. I think it was 27-24 over North Miami. And Xander, my son's good buddy, is a linebacker. And both those teams, when that game was over, it was an absolute war. I mean, so North Miami and Triton kids both were just talked to Lucas, Xander's friend, the linebacker, and he's like, man, I was just ready for the season to be over. He's like, it was so physical. It took everything out of them. So you thought when Triton would have a rematch against them, have an opportunity to play them again in the sectionals, that they'd be able to handle business and overlooking Fremont. And then Fremont comes through. And I really thought that Fremont was going to give North Miami a much better game. And it was almost like that Triton game was the light bulb going off for North Miami to say, hey, no, we know how to run the football. We play sound defense. We're hard hitting. And they absolutely dominated Fremont. So when you look at that from the other way, you look at South Adams as more of a team that can pass the ball really well. And they're a lot of fun to watch in that aspect. It's, a good passing team versus a sound running team. As much as I really think South Adams should kind of walk away with this being able to throw the ball over the top, I think if North Miami can control clock and use that playing surface, like you said, I think a lot of people sleep on that. If you're used to natural grass this time of year when it's damp, it's a game changer for you having home field advantage.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a pretty close game.
No, it's a huge advantage. And, you mentioned the passing game. Titus Lehman, the quarterback for South Adams, last week, 18-29, 369 yards, 6 touchdowns, no picks. Pretty solid line. And if the ball's dry and the track's dry, I think the Starfires put up good numbers in the aerial game again. But if it's slippery and wet, and my gut tells me there's going to be some shenanigans possibly going on there, I think North Miami's probably the favorite in this one if the ball's wet.
It's funny because their early 2 losses were to North Judson and Pioneer, who were both powerhouses also.
Yes.
That Triton game, I think, was just something that maybe the punch in the mouth they needed to kind of wake up. But like you said, Titus Lehman, Somerset, those guys offensively, I'm obviously homers were pulling for South Adams, but I think it's going to be a good game.
Tough game. Derek McKean, the senior receiver, 8 receptions, 175 last week for South Adams. West Somerset, 4 for 119, 2 tutties. Coach, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think, this is playoff time. Weather-wise, it looks like it's going to be nice, right? At least
Supposed to be warmer.
temperature-wise.
Yes.
Now, when it's usually warm this time of year, temperature-wise, you're going to get some wind. Watch that to play a factor in these games because it is more difficult probably to throw in the wind than anything else.
I
And
agree.
if we get some wind going, all these teams that pass the ball
Will be limited.
might be limited some.
No, I think that's a good point, Coach, and especially with the temperatures changing as rapidly as they are this week. Wind could definitely be a factor tomorrow night down at North Miami. So it's going to be a fun one. We're definitely pulling for South Adams. I'd love to see. I at the very least, we're going to have. I'm thinking 3 or 4 schools advancing. I'm hoping, and maybe 5. How cool would that be? I mean. And think about this. I just want to put a cap real quick on Northside last week against Concord. Man, they had that game.
Yeah.
Right before halftime, I'm sure Coach BJ's kicking himself. It was, I believe it was tied. The clock was running. They had, it was 3rd down. They used their last timeout, but it was 7 seconds. and they brought the field goal unit out. If you're going to do that, you got to just bring it down to 2 or 3 seconds and make sure it's the last play of the half. They kicked the field goal. I think they squib kicked it. I didn't see the kick. I came back. They had Concord ran one of those miracle throwback passes on their one snap with like 1 second to go and scored 7 points right before half to make it 14-10. That was the difference in the game. Northside played phenomenally, and they've got a lot of really good talent coming back next year. But I'm sure if Coach BJ could go back in time, he would have let that tick down just a little bit more. And so it was the last play of the game. But hats off to Northside, because Concord's really, really good.
It's a tough team,
and that was one hell of a game. All right, let's bring in our friend Jeff Mahoney. I see him there from Summit City Sports, and talk a little bit about the Class 4A final. The Bishop Dwenger Saints at 10-2. Red hot are the Saints at Lebanon. The Tigers are also 10-2, but I don't think Lebanon, Jeff, plays the same schedule that Bishop Dwenger does. Is that where the Saints have an edge because they're battle tested?
Yeah, you could say that, but also, Lebanon won their second ever sectional championship last week, with the first one coming in 1997. And last week, Dwenger picked up their 29th sectional championship in the program's
Just a few more.
history. So I think that's going to, play into this game as well. Just the experience factor in this situation.
Well, Dwenger's playing at such a high level now, Jeff. I know you've seen them several times this year. We've talked all year long about that defense and how dominant it's been. I mean, they're always in the right place at the right time. They hit you. Is there anything that Lebanon can do offensively to move the ball consistently to hang around in this one?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, they rely on a dual threat quarterback, Chris Hill, the senior, who is amazing. He has 0 interceptions on the season, Casey, which you wrote about. So 17 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, averages 6 yards a carry. So really reminds you a little bit of Riley Biddle. He goes 5'8", 175, but man, it's going to be tough. They're really going to need a big game from Tannen Mondin, who is a junior at 6'2", 175. Coach Yoder, Josh Yoder, who's in his first year over there at Lebanon, really raved about Mondin and the type of season that he's having. 10 touchdowns receiving. He's their punter. He's their main kick return guy, punt return guy. Can really get it done in all facets of the game. And talking with Coach Yoder, they're just going to have to play mistake-free football. So they had a really tough battle earlier this year. Talking about their schedule, they took on Harrison out of West Lafayette, which is a 6A program, and they lost 26-7. But he said that a really tough second quarter for Lebanon really put them kind of behind the 8 ball in that game. And he feels like if they can clean up the mistakes, they can stick around with Bishop Dwenger.
Okay, Coach Stansky, do you have a question for Jeff?
Yeah, Lebanon's defense, I noticed, they don't turn the ball over, Lebanon's offense, but Lebanon's defense has only gotten, I think, 4 turnovers on the year.
That's not many.
That's not many at all. Tell me a little bit about this Saints offense. It's kind of, early in the year, they struggled a bit, and especially during the playoffs now with AJ Shefferly and Henry Jordan, those guys, what's really made the difference with the Saints offense?
Well, it's just that offensive line. Once again, 261 pounds across the board, but these are some ripped offensive linemen. You saw it all game last week. Left tackle Andrew Tryon will pull, and he just clears a pathway. I mean, it'll just open up like the Red Sea. This is my 4th game covering Dwenger, and the previous 3 against Lures, and then last week against East Noble, and then the Northrop game. AJ Shefferly has been the MVP every single game, and that's from the offensive side of the ball. You look at him, he's 6 foot, 195 pounds. He's also the starting defensive end. He's a team captain, but man, he is really, really impressive as a running back. And, when you have to battle with that offensive line, then you go up with he's the son of the strength coach over there at Bishop Dwenger. And I'm telling you, they're doing a great job with their strength program, because every single one of those kids out in the field are just yoked up. But AJ Shefferly has been super, super impressive offensively. Henry Jordan had some parts in that game last week where he was looking really comfortable and just slinging it with ease. I would personally like to see maybe a couple more attempts to his brother Max Jordan.
Max.
It just seems like sometimes with Henry and Max, when they connect, it seems like they're playing in the backyard. They've been doing it forever, which I'm sure they have been.
It's such a good point, Jeff. You took the words right out of my mouth. It's like a wavelength thing. It's brothers playing catch, doing the sideline routes.
Absolutely. Like the
front
back
yard.
shoulder throws to throw into space. Whenever they connect, now granted, Max has 4 receptions on the season, and Max is your prototypical Bishop Dwenger player, to where Coach Stansky, they got guys that can go both ways all over the place. You look at a guy like Carter Zent, who's a standout defensive back for him, but at any time you can put him in the backfield or line him out at wide receiver, and you're not going to skip a beat. They've got a lot of kids like that. Nick O'Keefe, Max Jordan, just super athletic kids that, they're just football players coming from the CYO system.
Yeah, Jackson Parrish last week, 2 interceptions were huge. Max Jordan actually led the team last week with 9 tackles and 4 pass breakups. AJ Shefferly was second on the team in tackles. I think he had over 100 yards rushing, did AJ Shefferly, the fullback for Bishop Dwenger. Right now, I think if Bishop Dwenger's got an MVP right now, it's between AJ Shefferly and Houston Ellinger. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. I'd give the edge to Shefferly just because at times he does carry the offense. I mean, if he's getting 5 yards a carry, it's putting their offense in a good situation. And with the kicking game, with Lucas Nguyen that Dwenger has, I mean, I think they're happy just to keep the ball, grind it on the ground, and just own that time of possession, because they don't want to give Lebanon any extra opportunities. Now, Henry Jordan did have 2 interceptions last week, and one of them was really, really strange, Casey. I'm not sure if you saw it, but he was just rolling out to his right, looking to throw the ball out of bounds, and didn't really get it out of bounds and ended up in an interception. So those are things that hopefully he can learn from as we progress in the postseason, and next time just chuck it through that sideline.
Yes, throw it away. Jake?
Yeah, it's funny, Jeff, when we're talking about that relationship between, family members on a football team, especially brothers like that, and like a quarterback, wide receiver. It reminds me of the Ballantyne brothers we watched at Andrean a couple of years ago. Very, very similar to those guys. And then also thought you guys did a great job on the call on Friday night. And as we were texting back and forth, I thought you kind of nailed it with thinking about some of the great linebackers the Saints have had, and primarily thinking about Christian Lozada and how he kind of translate. You think that some of the similar players they've got right now at backer. What do you think about this backing core? It's the Saints. They're always good. But this year specifically, what do you like about these linebackers, Jeff?
They're just so tough. They fly around to the ball. Casey Piper, Doug Henry, both of them with over 100 tackles on the season. Both were first team all conference. Casey Piper, just to speak to some of this athleticism, has 3 blocked field goals on the season. You don't see that very often, especially from a middle backer, maybe from a speedy cornerback, but 3 blocked field goals. I just find that to be really impressive. And then you add Houston Ellinger in there. You got to remember, they're playing without an all-state linebacker from a year ago, that could be in the mix as well. Casey, you'll like this. One of the things I noticed about Ellinger, it definitely appears that he has next man speed, and it's on the defensive side of the ball, because when he's coming off the edge, going after the quarterback, he hits it to a whole nother level. I haven't seen him run that fast running the ball, but when he's got a quarterback in his sights, I mean, forget about it. His mind just takes over. His fast twitch muscles take over, and he's on the hunt. And he really
like somebody stole his lunch. Yeah,
exactly. He really set the tone on East Noble's first offensive possession with the hit on Riley Biddle. And after that hit, you couldn't help thinking, Riley has not seen this type of hitting or this type of defense all year long. And, he's going to have to get wise to it real quick. And they did, but Dwenger does such a good job of disguising their defense. Casey, at any time, Houston Ellinger will walk into the slot, and then right before the snap of the ball, he'll trade places with a cornerback like Nick O'Keefe, and then he'll cover, and then maybe O'Keefe blitzes off the edge. Dwenger is on a totally different level with their defensive play calling and how they're able to disguise their defenders.
Totally agree. And I think you got to give a ton of credit to defensive coordinator Dan Nepper. I mean, what he has been able to do at Bishop Dwenger, I feel like as a coordinator, he gets better every single year. And I think this year's performance has been a masterclass.
No, absolutely. And of course, offensive line coach Jason Fabini, because watching this offensive line, it was pretty obvious early on that it was the strength of their team. But I guarantee you, it's the number one position group that head coach Josh Yoder and Lebanon is looking at, is that offensive line and how can they get any advantages.
Yeah, for sure. If the Saints can run the ball effectively, it's going to be a long night for the Tigers, no doubt about it. Well, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you joining us tonight with the Summit City Sports Check-In. Real quick, what other games locally are you guys doing tomorrow night?
None of them are local. All of them are over 2-hour drives. So we will be at Twin Lakes. We're really excited for the Bishop Lures game.
Okay.
You know, to see if those guys. Now, here's a fun stat for you. If Dwenger wins regionals and Lures does not, then both of those teams will have 23 regionals in the program history, which is most obviously in Northeast Indiana. But, you know, that's over a 2-hour drive. It's west of Logansport, I believe.
Yes.
And then we're also doing the Knox game, which could be super exciting as well, because
they have internet. They do have internet up there. You can confirm that.
we got a jetpack.
We're going to find out, right?
we got Verizon, baby. So hopefully, you know, hopefully it's not an AT&T dominated area. But yeah, so if Knox wins and Lures wins, Lures could potentially host Knox, where Miles McLaughlin could be going for that national record.
Wouldn't that be something against that defense? And then also think about this. What about Bishop Dwenger potentially going to Hobart next week? How cool would that be if the Brickies prevail against South Bend St. Joe?
It's super classic, Casey, because when I was playing in the 90s, Wayne and Hobart had this intense postseason rivalry over there at the Bricky Bowl. So the Bricky Bowl,
I covered the first ever loss. I covered that first ever playoff loss for Hobart. And let me think about this. You're going to get me on my dates here. I want to say 95. Wayne came back. They were down 3 touchdowns at halftime. They came back and won 28-21. And those folks up there had no idea how to respond. I was at the News Sentinel. That was quite a finish. Sorry, Jeff.
I was going to say, was that Darnell Levette at quarterback?
Darnell Levette, Cuevas Tate, the DeArmond brothers, Cornelius Bowick at defensive end. Yes, that was the team. Coach Mark Newland.
Those are the 3 games that we have this week. We are the only ones providing video for those 3 matchups. So that's kind of neat, because sometimes, Casey, you go to these places and there'll be 4 of us broadcasting internet video, which seems like a little much, but we enjoy doing it.
Yeah, a little bit overkill perhaps, but you know, it's good to see the coverage. We'll be tuning into all 3 of them tomorrow night. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. Great show.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, brother.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that was fun, guys. I know we got it busted at 7:28. How are we doing on time?